Cinda.
Hello again, Sharon.
We meet again. And this conversation, I'm looking out there at what's going on, especially in our country, but it's going on in lots of parts of the world that seems so set in stone in a path of destruction. That will our voices have enough power? I can't imagine what some might be feeling in relationship to what looks like very dire situation.
Yeah.
I feel so fortunate because the people I interact with, the place I live, it's kind of out of the fray. But it's not out of the fray because the fray is part of the whole biofield that I live within. You know what I mean? So I may not be directly in those forms, but the fact that they are in my biofield says I can't ignore them. And yet, how are men and women, adults and children, we know how upset and angry and maybe hopeless they are,
Yeah, I think those of us who are highly sensitive to energy feel it at night. When we calm our own minds down, I think we can feel the anxiety of the planet right now.
Mm-hmm.
I had dinner with a young woman and she was like, I don't know if I ever want to have children and bring a child onto this earth. What happens? What will their world be like? Do I have the right to be that selfish to bring a child into a world that can't support them and keep them safe? And how frightening that would be. And I was like, oh God, this is breaking my heart, right? This is breaking my heart. And so, we're aware of the anxiety, we're aware of the fear, we can feel it, maybe feel it in ourselves, but most certainly feel it as a collective. And it's, what you and I know about energy is that whatever energy we have sends out a frequency, and that frequency will attract the same frequency, the same vibration. So if we live in a place of anxiety, our anxiety will expand because we will be drawing more and more reasons to be anxious into our lives or into our circle, right? And we might be surrounding ourselves with highly anxious people, right? And misery loves company. And that's because we feed off of each other if we can validate our own anxiety with other people's anxiety. But what we're doing is creating a larger sea of anxiety, because like energy attracts like energy.
Right.
And so I think the biggest question we need to ask is how do we shift that energy? How do we go from a place of anger, fear, worry, anxiety, dread, doom? How do we take those low vibrational energies, shift them, low vibrational emotions, and shift them into something that is the opposite, which is hope? And well, really, that's just capital HOPE. And if we can do that, if we can shift the energy from anxiety or fear into a place of hope, then all of a sudden what was happening down below starts happening up here, and we resonate, right? Send out that frequency of hope, which will draw more hopeful people into our circle, which will, create more reasons to be hopeful. Our whole reality shifts, and the way we observe our life shifts when we shift our vibration.
Right. And I think from my experience, it's, again, we have those of us souls, who we are, divine and magnificent, intelligent, creative, imaginable, and we're in these physical bodysuits, and we have been dumbed down, if you will. We have been um, taught in maybe direct and indirect ways over generations that we aren't safe, that we aren't enough. That's a big one. We aren't enough. Which has resulted in powerlessness, which we come to this day and time and we see the huge onslaught of energies that are destructive to all of us in various ways, including Mother Earth. And if we maintain that consciousness, those stories that we aren't enough, that we don't know enough, that we aren't powerful, that somebody outside of ourselves has to rescue us, if we maintain that consciousness, even thinking about there is hope is very difficult. So, you know, what it has taken, I'm assuming this because I recognize it in you, you recognize it in me. What it has taken for each of us is what has taken for a lot of those on the planet who are more aware of a bigger picture, if you will, of more options. We've broken through the limit, the programming that I'm not enoughness, but it has taken work, it has taken processes, it has taken mentoring, it has taken a lot of things in our toolbox that we now have. So we can say with experiential wisdom, these lower vibrations is not where you need to live, right? We can say that. So what kind of tools though? What, you know, I've got mine, you've got yours, but there are so many out there who are still stuck in that old story of I'm not enough. We are never going to make it. Somebody external's got to fix it for us. And if they don't fix it, it's hopeless.
Right,
So
right.
what's some steps, Cinda?
Well, you know, I think that we need to recognize that until we work on ourselves, we shouldn't be working on anything outside of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need to go within first and recognize where we live. Where does our energy reside? Where are we storing it within our body? And usually, you know, we're making up a story in our head about something that, you know, isn't real.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we store it way down low, deep in our gut, right? Or in our lower organs. And the best way to know if that's really happening is if you're having problems with your intestines, your digestive systems, your sexual organs, your even just your inability to breathe because of the constriction of fear, right? And so we need to, you know, think about this and become that observer. And the first thing I could do, you know, if we even just think of the word hope, or we think of the word joy, if we close our eyes and we say those words, hope, joy, it resonates in our heart, right? And if we can expand our heart energy, which the universe is in alignment to support, and that which we send out, we receive more of. So if we can remember and take what we're afraid of and really truly bring it up into our heart center and shift that fear into hope, and then experience joy of a life that's the opposite of it, right? A fantasy of it, perhaps, just to experience that energy of joy. If we could do that a few minutes every single day, we'll be able to create a pattern where we can bring and draw to us more reasons to be hopeful and more joyful experiences in our life, which will then get us out of that lower area where we've been living in, where so many of us are residing right now. But as far as a tool goes, I created what I call Think Pink. Okay, can I talk about that?
Let me say something first,
Okay.
because I definitely want Think Pink.
I love it.
Here's what comes to my mind. So here is one of our listeners who really say, yes, I'm going to sit, I'm going to be quiet, I'm going to think joy, I'm going to think love, I'm going to think safety, and I'm going to breathe it in and let it move through me and through into my heart. Okay? Now, my experience is this. Anything in the way of it, which is like the old trauma pieces that we might not even know we still have or that we've inherited, it very well may come up. So I think there's a step here to be aware of. Okay, here it is, and all of a sudden you feel it, and then almost instantly you may go into rage, you may go into doubt, it may trigger those, what we'll call the shadow trauma pieces. And unless you're aware, those very shadow pieces, which really are calling to be healed, if you don't understand that, you may think that the message is it's hopeless. You see, you may not embrace that as, oh, I see. Here's a trauma piece that I didn't know was still there, that's in the way of my joy, of my love, of my safety. So I'm holding on to love and joy and safety, absolutely not going to let go of that. And I'm not going to fail to hear the voice from within me that says, I'm injured. I'm injured. Please turn me over to grace. Please put me in the hands of divine love. Please put me into the hands of a healing team. Get to counseling, get to a healer, get to a mentor. This is where you need a certain type of toolbox too, so that you don't go back into, oh my gosh, it is hopeless. Oh my gosh, I'm not enough.